Cheers, I do, buckaroos, and how the heck are you? Well, I'm Tom the Beer and Whiskey Whisperer for the purpose of this video anyway. And joining me today at the pub is renowned beer and whiskey writer Lew Bryson. How you doing, man?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. So, Lew, what do you have to be drinking at the pub today?
Because that's what I do. I've got kind of a shot of beer set up. Got the Bourbon Pursuit bottling. This is their
what do you have?
Blended straight bourbons finished on toasted American and French oak.
Oh, really? So, what do you think the proof on that was?
That is at 54%.
Wow, so it's big.
Yeah, pretty good size.
So American and French oak. Can you tell our folks that might not be whiskey experts like yourself the difference between the two?
Well, it's toasted American oak, so it'll be white oak, and then they do a like an infrared treatment rather than flame, so the wood just kind of gets it gets warmed up. It's like putting it in an oven rather than putting it under a broiler. Your normal bourbon barrel would be charred, and then the French oak gives a kind of a leaner, almost more minerally flavor to it. But I got to tell you, the overall effect is pretty nice.
Very nice. Well, it looks incredible, man. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just a guy that likes bourbon. But from my experience, I've noticed that French oak tends to impart more vanilla notes.
I think it's maybe not so much that it's more vanilla; it's that it's more focused.
That could very well be. And I've noticed more spice. I've noticed more spice from American white oak, especially Missouri white oak. I've noticed tends to impart more spice notes.
Yeah, it's amazing how the difference between the where the oak grows, and I don't know if that's so much a mineral thing or a latitude thing, or I don't know. But I remember I used to live really close to the guys that make Dad's Hat. They're kind of like just over the hill from me, about 15 minutes drive, and they got a batch of barrels in that were made from Minnesota oak. And after about 2 years, it just developed this noticeably minty character.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and they were all like, well, it's really good, but what do we do with it? Because it's not what we're used to. So, yeah. Good isn't necessarily better.
That's right. Well, I went with something that's local to me. This is from Tiakida, which is a sister company to Springfield Brewing Company here in Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
It is their Oracle. It is a 5-year-old bourbon whiskey. This one is finished in port barrels.
Nice. Oh, nice label. I like that.
Yeah, they are local, and they're just expanding too. They were being kind of a distill in a small corner of the brewery, but now they've just bought some more land where they're going to have an R&D still, if you will, and have more of a tap room, I guess. They're in the process of putting it together now. More of a not tap room, but a tasting room, I mean to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me show you.
Is that Welsh or Irish?
It is. It's Welsh, actually.
Okay.
It's basically Welsh for cheers, they tell me.
Oh, nice.
But the main owners of the company are Welsh.
Oh, cool. I actually went to there's a Welsh themed brew pub outside of Albany. I cannot remember the name of the place. Kathy, do you remember that place? I can't remember. It was that brew pub we stopped, the Welsh place. Yeah. Painted Guru, which glass of beer.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. But that was a fun place. I like that.
Very nice. So do you have?
I'm also drinking Torpedo.
Oh, a classic. Okay, well, I've got a beer too I'm going to share with you as well since we've got them both rocking. I didn't open it yet, but it's the Old Standard. Again, this is Springfield Brewing Company, so I got two products from the same place, basically. And those that know I like to go as local as possible for most of these videos. It is a 10%. 10%, I believe. Where does it say here somewhere? No, it's 11%. 11% barley wine that's aged in port and sherry barrels.
Wow.
Well, let me get it poured. Lew, you have a few breweries and distilleries near you, don't you?
Well, I'm actually in Western North Carolina right now.
Oh, you're not. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're traveling. We're down at my brother-in-law and his wife have a place here in the mountains. We're about about a quarter mile off the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually, but we do have breweries near. I was just at 2 breweries today.
Wow.
We're going to a cider maker tomorrow morning.
Oh, nice.
2 places in town here. I'm in West Jefferson. Well, we're outside of West Jefferson, North Carolina, and it's Boondocks Brewing and New River Brewing, and they both. I mean, they only sell here in town. They got I think the one place has a couple of draft accounts, but it's really all tightly closed in here. I think the nearest distillery might be down in Boone, maybe, but there's nothing right here in town yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
That's Sancho, isn't it? Yeah, it seems like there's one popping up everywhere sooner or later.
Yes. I remember talking to Bill Owens, who was kind of the. I mean, he was kind of he was definitely an early adapter on craft beer. He had the Buffalo Bill Brew Pub.
Oh yeah,
yeah, way back. But then he was also early involved in craft distilling. And I remember he was going around visiting everything. He told me, when the heck would that have been? Early 2000s. Said we might see 300 distilleries. Like we're over 2,000 now.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I never expected. I mean, I wasn't going to argue with him because I didn't. You know, it's different than making beer. You know,
Yeah.
you can crank out a batch of beer in 2 weeks, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, even gin, it takes some work and it takes some trial, and your experiments are more expensive.
They are, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So and then whiskey.
If you're going to do bourbon specifically, I mean, you
Right.
you have to invest a lot of time, and you invest a lot of money in barrels as well.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of money in the barrels, and you use them once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then you look for a brewery. So,
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, but it's amazing how many there are now, right?
It truly is, and I think the majority of them are making a whiskey. That kind of surprised me too. But it's remember I write a column for Craft Spirits magazine, and when I wrote one within the last year, it's like barbecue. You know, I don't know if you do barbecue smoking.
I do.
Okay. I mean, I've noticed that if you don't do brisket, you're not a man. You know, you got to do brisket. Like everybody does pulled pork, everybody does chicken, but until you do brisket, you're not really smoking. I don't give a damn about brisket. You know, so I was essentially comparing that with whiskey and craft distilling, because a lot of these guys, I guess we have to do a whiskey. You don't. You know, you can just make a really good gin. That'll be great. Or brandy. Brandy is underserved in the craft distilling community.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, so don't have to do whiskey, but everybody does because they want to.
Well, a lot of folks are doing unaged or moonshine like products, and that was really a trend about a decade ago. But I'm not seeing it as often as I was back then.
I'm actually starting to see it come back a little bit.
Well, I think a lot of that's the price, right? A lot of them were priced at the price of a 4-year-old bourbon, and I had a hard time spending, $30 for an unaged product.
Oh, yeah,
the bourbon for $30.
But now with bourbon as expensive as it is, the other thing is people just didn't know what they were doing, and those unaged whiskeys were just not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some recently. I'll make a cocktail with it. Hell, I'll even sip some of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you drink. I prefer Blanco tequila over aged tequila, white rum. So yeah, I'll try a white spirit. I'll try a white whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some good ones too, but I think you're right. I think I said a decade ago, probably somewhere between 2010 and 2013. I remember seeing just a lot of them pop up, and a lot of them were just popping up too fast without having knowledge to make a great product, or trying to use inexpensive ingredients to get it out quick, and then not putting out a great product.
I think a lot of it was just they didn't know how to still.
Yeah.
That was a lot of it. It's a nasty learning curve.
It really is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially back then,
Well,
nobody knew what to do, so they couldn't teach you.
well, that's the thing. It's kind of like it seems like 8 out of 10 home brewers think they can be professional brewers, and it's just not
Yes,
the case, right? I mean,
right.
I loved home brewing, I did, and I love working in the brewing industry, I did. But I never, under any circumstance, did I want to be a commercial brewer. I was happy
Yeah.
in sales or slinging beer. I'm happy as a beer tender. There is no way in hell you're ever going to get me to work
No,
as a commercial brewer because that is a job.
I was just talking about that with the brewer at Boondocks today because he came into it from home brewing. He's like, "Yeah, everything I do was wrong.
Yeah.
It's all different."
Yep.
You
Yep.
know? Yeah. So, but on the other hand, I remember talking to somebody, wow, back there in the like 2010, 2012 era, talking about why there aren't enough distillers. People know what they're doing. He said, we don't have home brewing. We don't have that.
Yeah.
At least people who know something have the idea of it. He
Yeah.
says, I'm hiring brewers and teaching them how to distill because at least they know half of it. So,
well, at least they understand the sanitation of it all, if nothing else.
that's
Right?
true too. Yeah. If they're good at it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
that cracked me up when I worked for Saddlebach in Arkansas. Was that they get these kids that want to be brewers, and they put them in they stick them with the head brewer, and they'd find out that almost all their day is doing nothing but cleaning tanks and cleaning kegs.
Right.
And some of these guys would last maybe a day. Some will only last half a day because they think they've done some home brewing.
Jump right on the platform.
Yeah, they think it's going to be glamorous, and it's not. I mean, even the head brewer, most of his day was spent cleaning.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you brew something, and then you clean it again.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the tank's empty, you got to clean it.
Yeah, it just cracks me up how you talk to these home brewers, and I would say I said 8 out of 10. Let's say 7 out of 10. Seem to think they have what it takes, or at least want to throw their hat in the ring to be a commercial brewer.
Yeah, it's like the what was that? Napoleon's army. Every private has a marshal's baton in his backpack because you could be the general next.
That's right. That's funny.
Yeah, not really.
Oh, mercy. So I know
Yeah.
you've done the writing on both beer and whiskey.
Yep. Still do.
Still do, yeah. So along that lines, in fact, I've read some of your work in the past, but do you have anything new coming out that I need to be looking for?
I don't really book wise. Haven't really settled on the next project, and the oh man, COVID was a real problem. My second whiskey book, Whiskey Master Class, came out literally 3 weeks before the lockdown came down. I had bought I don't even know how many copies. I had boxes of books stacked up, almost 6 feet high in the garage. I'm down to one box now from that 3 years ago. Yeah, it's great, but it took me, man. Ugh. So I'll be honest. I haven't really been thinking about anything else. I've just been thinking about how the hell to get those books sold. That finally happened. So
again, as a writer, is a good portion of your job marketing and sales?
You have to do some of that. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. At this point, I've kind of reached the point where people are coming to me, which is great because I really don't like doing that kind of thing. Doesn't come natural to me.
Yeah.
And things have changed so much. I'll tell you, one of the big wake ups for me, I was reading Hemingway's A Movable Feast from when he was just starting out in the 20s and selling short stories, fiction to magazines. And the dude was literally getting the same amount for a story that I do now.
That's insane.
100 years ago. And I'm just like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And then, you realize it's not really you. It's that the market has changed so much.
Yeah.
The internet has changed everything because of advertising. Magazines used to get a lot more for advertising than they do now. And they would, they'd pay a writer a lot more for a piece. Doesn't happen anymore. You're just like skimping by on what they can scrape out of the internet. And you get people who are willing to write they're willing to write a story on the same subject for $50 in samples. I can't live on that.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. So I've been turning down a lot of work actually, because I just no, I can't do it for that. If you can't pay more than that, I'm sorry. Come back to me when you can. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered some of it. I mean, the difference between print media and then, of course, the digital, I guess, at this point. I mean,
yeah.
do you prefer one to the other?
I mean, there are some digital outlets that pay decently, but it's a lot better writing for digital. Heaven forbid there's a mistake, you can correct it.
Yeah.
You can just go in there and you just send them and like, oh my God, I misspelled this guy's name. Can you fix it? Whereas magazine or book, it's there for good. It's there. Yeah. So I don't know. It really comes down to the individual people. I mean, I hate to get into the weeds on it, but a lot of it comes down to, when do they pay it? Do they pay you as soon as they get it? Do they pay you? In a lot of places I used to work for paid like a month after publication, which means sometimes it was like 9 months after I'd written the piece.
Yeah.
And I honestly kind of got the feeling some of them were hoping I'd forget, and they're like, hello, you have not paid me for this yet, please. But then, a lot of it comes down to the individual editors too. And, I worked as an editor at Whiskey Advocate for 20 years. So I kind of know both sides of it, which helps. So now I know what's actually important to an editor and what doesn't really matter. A lot of times, for a lot of editors, deadlines don't really matter. If you're putting in clean copy and you're within 3 days of deadline, and it's not a daily. I mean, if it's a daily, that's all different. But putting in clean copy and know what that is. No errors, no gaps. Oh my God, bless his memory. But I edited Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah,
that was not always easy. I mean, oh my God, it wasn't quite stream of consciousness, but I'd get these things and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'd look at, he'd send an email and he'd like type it in the body of the email. I'd look at it and I'd see where he was and I'd look at the timestamp. It'd be like 2:30 a.m. where he was. And he's just banging that out. There you go.
That's crazy.
He knew I'd edit it and I did. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So how do you see the industry these days? I mean, I've read articles recently about both craft beer and spirits about there's a decline. How are you seeing it?
Definitely not seeing a decline in spirits. Every major bourbon maker has done an expansion and is still banging away. Craft spirits as well. I don't really think there's a lot of contraction. I'll be honest, I've been expecting a contraction similar to the one craft brewing saw in the mid 90s, and it hasn't happened. I kept expecting to see, a lot of used distilling equipment on the market, but it's not there. I think I think there was such a depressed demand for spirits that it's still booming along. Beer, I think beer is being hit by just a number of things. One of them being the resurgence of spirits. Spirits had a self-imposed advertising ban. They didn't do advertising in on air or digital media, and they had decided to do that themselves because they didn't want to get in trouble. Like I think it was because of cigarettes. They saw what happened with cigarette advertising, and they're like, let's just not do that. And of course, it also saved them a ton of money because all that advertising was expensive. So they had a lot of other money for other things, but then that changed and they started doing that, and I think that had a massive effect on demand for spirits, and
Yeah.
that and the revival of cocktail culture, and so that's come along, and beer is down, but I remember we never look at this. We'll look at spirits or we'll look at beer. We rarely look at wine. Wine cycles a lot. Like demand will go up and down like 25% over 10 years. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how, as an industry, they don't just go, oh my God, because things change so much. And meanwhile, beer's slipping like 5% and guys are ready to shoot their brains out because, oh my God, it'll never come back. It'll come back. I mean, I remember.
I feel like I've been hearing for like a decade and a half the craft beer bubble's going to burst, and it's not going to burst. Everything kind of, you're going to have this. Nothing's going to burst. It's like they think everything's going to go bankrupt, and then we're going to have like 2 craft breweries left. That's not going to happen.
No, that's not going to happen.
The weaker ones are going to get weeded out. The folks that want to get out of the game are going to sell. I mean, those things are going to happen. And
there have been some really odd mergers I've seen lately. And I don't know how they're going to last, because some of them look at them just like, that brewery has nothing to do with, what is this? Okay. But yeah, whatever. And, but yeah, I think you're going to see some of that, especially now. And there's, things are going through some changes. And I do think that some of this is, some of it's self-inflicted. I think, I don't want to say craft beer lost its way or anything like that. But when you focus on stuff like, graham cracker kiwi sours, it's going to fall out of, it's trendy, it's faddish, and stuff like that is going to become unpopular, and things are going to change. I mean, honestly, I thought hard seltzers were going to have more staying power than they did, but they seem to be fading quickly. So I don't know. If I did know, I'd be making a lot more money than I am.
Well, that's kind of the thing is, I seem like, social media seems like everybody's an expert, right? Everybody, the craft beer bubble's got to burst, so everybody's got to go under. Just take a breath. Say a breath. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Scotch whiskey guys are all over it. They've seen this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 1990, you couldn't give peaty whiskey away.
Yeah.
And they cannot make enough of it. So, yeah, they know it happens.
Well, you were talking about cocktail culture. I mean, right now, of course, everybody loves an old fashioned, or there are various other trendy cocktails. And for me, I'm all about the classic. So for me, it's all about a Manhattan or an old fashioned. But you are seeing a lot of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And 20 years ago, cosmopolitans.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody wants a whiskey cocktail. Old fashions are huge. Yeah, even Manhattans, whiskey sours. I mean, I remember when I was tending bar in the 80s, putting myself through grad school, and I remember whiskey sours were awful because they made them with sour mix and cheap whiskey, and I was like, oh, that's a terrible drink. And then I had one made with fresh juice and good whiskey, and I was like, this is a great drink. And it is. It's just...
Yeah, I make my own, and of course, I make mine extremely simple. I use some lemon juice, I use some simple syrup, and you've got a whiskey sour. Now, you can make it more complicated than that, but you don't need to.
You don't need to, no.
You can do want to do Boston,
same thing for old fashioned.
Egg white,
No, you don't have to.
But you don't need it. Boston sour, but that's a whole other drink.
Sure. No, it's just, and I think that's, some of it is, I know people my age probably got a bad exposure to cocktails, or they think a cocktail is like Jack and Coke, which, okay, kind of, but it's a highball.
Yeah, it's a highball.
Yeah, it's a highball. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love a highball. That's,
See, all highballs are cocktails. Cocktail is not a highball.
Not a highball. That's right.
We must be pretty close to the same age, I'm guessing, but
looks that way.
Well, I turned 58 in May.
I'm ahead of the curve on you. I
just
turned 64.
This is 64. So yeah. My siblings and I kind of joke that our upbringing was different than most. In the 60s and 70s, we grew up in California. You could bring kids into bars back then. So we spent more time in a bar from the ages of, being a baby to the age of, 18. We spent more time in bars than most adults do. We just logged that time. So I just remember as a kid kind of, you know, uh, storing that information. Okay, he's drinking a Harvey Wallbanger. And then,
Yes.
I don't even know if anybody can make a Harvey Wallbanger
I
anymore.
was fascinated by that stuff when I was younger.
Yeah,
The magazine ads, I'd be reading those.
yeah.
I remember I got a cocktail book when I was like 18, and I'm just pouring over it,
Mhm.
every word, just absorbing it. Alcohols I would not see, like spirits I wouldn't see for years.
Yeah.
Just wow, I gotta know this stuff. I gotta know this stuff. And then, I get out in the big wide world, and everybody's like, vodka soda, beer, vodka soda, glass of Chablis. I'm like, yeah, God, really? And that's why I think I took to craft beer as quickly as I did. I was drinking, imported stuff like Bass and Old Peculiar and Guinness and Heineken Dark. I was drinking that stuff in college.
Mhm.
And just, it went on from there. I was lucky enough that in those days, back in the early 80s, one of the better beer bars in America happened to be half a mile from campus. I didn't even know that was unusual. I went in there, he had 120 different beers in
Wow.
1981. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I wonder what it's like in the big cities. Well, turned out most of the big cities, it wasn't even that good. So
Truth. Yeah. Yep.
yeah. But things changed fairly quickly. And then, I still remember. Well, it's not been that long ago. Less than 20 years ago, walking into a cocktail bar, and there'd be 20, 30 flavored vodkas and 5 whiskeys. And now that's completely stood on its head.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, which great.
Well, now you've got flavored whiskeys out there.
That's true too. Yes.
Now we've got Fireball, we got peanut butter whiskey, we got pickle
Peanut butter whiskey.
Look at that.
Yep.
What the hell is this about? Pickle whiskey. Why is there a market for pickle whiskey?
I'm still trying to figure out that whole pickleback cocktail thing.
Yeah, I don't get it myself. I know there's pickle vodka, but now there's actual pickle whiskey. So why do you want to put pickle in a whiskey?
Don't know.
Of course, you got brewers making pickle beer too. So.
Oh yeah. Well, we're getting dill pickle pizza now.
Oh really? Oh yeah.
Yep.
I'm not a big dill pickle fan, so for me it's disgusting. But even with this stuff. See, I even prefer a bread and butter pickle on my hamburger than a dill. I'm kind of old school that way, but but dill pickle on everything these days.
Yeah. I actually prefer the bread and butter on my Cubano, which I understand is heresy.
Yeah, I do that too. Yeah, I like the bread and butter pickle.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Midwest thing. I don't know.
That snap of clove to it. I love that.
Oh yeah. See, I agree. Yeah. And it's not as sweet like a sweet pickle, but
no, it's a little bit spicy. I like that.
Yeah. We always those were my dad's favorite bread and butter pickle, so we always had them in the house growing up.
Of course. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Dad's bar always had. Dad was a bourbon drinker, so his bar always had Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and Wild Turkey. Always had those 3.
Wow.
Always had those 3. And now, we'd have people over, so we'd always have some vodka there, and there'd be some gin, but they were usually kind of bottom shelf. So what we learned as kids is that as long as you didn't touch those 3, you could drink anything behind the bar, and Dad would never know. So
he's not watching that one. Yeah.
At some point, there was nothing in the gin and vodka bottles but water, right? But Dad would never drink that stuff, so he would know. So when my friends and I come home, we get friends over to my house one day, and all the adults are in the house getting drunk, and they're making some kind of cocktail in the blender with gin. And I'm watching them pour this, knowing they're pouring about this much of water in their cocktail. Now, they're already half in the bag, so they don't even notice. They send somebody to the store to get more gin, but they're basically drinking a mocktail at this point, and they're all so drunk they have no idea what they're drinking.
Yeah, didn't notice.
We thought, at first, when I first saw them doing it, I turned to my friends. We were talking, so we thought we were busted.
We're screwed.
Yeah, we were busted. But they were so half in the bag that nobody even knows they're drinking water. So, your travels, Lou, have you noticed certain parts of the country favor a particular type of spirit to another?
Wow. I mean, right now it's big whiskey all the time. Well, no, actually, that's not true. Tequila is coming on strong.
I've seen that too.
Yeah.
A lot of craft or I don't know what the word you want to use. Boutique tequila, maybe.
Well, that's some of it, but a lot of it is just that I think the what they call the mixto tequilas are not
Oh yeah,
100% agave. They've
got
kind
it.
of fallen out, but the 100% agave tequilas, Patron, 1800, Cuervo, they're all selling like crazy. I remember I where we used to live before we moved down outside of Philadelphia. I had a Russian barber, guy named Ruben. He had gotten out of Russia, I want to say in the late 80s, and somehow wound up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And, you get to talking like you do with a barber, and he finds out that I read about whiskey, and he gets talking. He says, none of us drink vodka anymore. We drink tequila. It's still clear, still don't get a hangover, but it actually has a flavor to it. It does that.
That's
It
funny.
does. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a big trend, but yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I didn't drink tequila at all until about 5 years ago, and I took a trip down there. It was a junket. One of the distillers paid for it, and went down there, saw it being made, talked to him about the whole, the process and the aging. And everybody assumed that I was going to be headed for the aged stuff because I like the whiskey. And the God, I don't know what they call him, the master distiller, the blender, whatever he is. Can't remember the word. I remember he compared the Blanco, the Reposado, and the Añejo to paintings, and he said, the Blanco, it says it's like a watercolor of the field of agave. It's just the colors are pure. They're like a little bit muted, but they're just that. And he says, there's not even a frame. It's just a nice piece of cardboard or canvas, and you paint right on it. And then he said, oh, the Reposado, he says you put a little light coat of varnish on there and a nice frame around it, and the frame's starting to attract more attention than the picture. And then you get the Añejo, and you got this boat varnish slapped on and a frame this wide. He says, you don't taste the agave anymore. I'm like, he's right. I love this. And
it's more about the package than the product, right?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that thing we were talking about with the unaged whiskey. It's just that I think with tequila, to a certain degree, it's always been about that base product. Whereas with whiskey, it hasn't been about the base product since the early 1800s, which is when we discovered how much better it tasted if you stick it in a barrel for a while.
Well, so that brings me to my next question. We talk about tequila, vodka, whiskey. With each spirit, do you have a preferred method? I mean, is it vodka? You like your vodka chilled, mixed? If we're talking gin, is it best in a martini? If you want whiskey, do you want it on ice? Do you want it neat?
Definitely have preferences there. Because vodka, I do like it neat and chilled. Mm-hmm. That's how I drink it. I don't really do Bloody Marys. I don't do like vodka soda or vodka tonic or vodka martinis. I just like, and I've been a vodka drinker, for like 40 years. I mean, there's a bottle of Chopin in the freezer at home right now.
Oh, that's my favorite vodka. Commercial vodka. Commercial vodka.
Yeah.
I got some small distillers that I like, but I do like Chopin because it is a potato vodka.
Yes, it is, and it makes a difference.
It does make a difference.
There's a difference in the body, which you only really notice if you're drinking it straight up.
You're drinking it neat, yeah.
Yeah, if you put it,
I guess having it cold, but I don't. So what would be the proper turn if I have a whiskey or I pour something in a glass? I'm having it neat. If I'm pouring it with nothing else, but it's chilled, is it still neat, or what's the term?
Yeah, it's just chilled.
Chilled,
it's still neat. Yeah. I mean, if you're putting ice in it, obviously, you're in a different territory. Which that's how Wow. I mean, I drink a lot of neat whiskey. Well, of the whiskey I drink, I should say it that way. Of the whiskey I drink a lot of it neat because I'm working. I'm either actively taking notes and trying to get a handle on it, or I'm judging with a bunch of other people, and that's how you drink it. You might put a little bit of water in, but you always taste it neat first. But if I'm drinking relaxation for fun, I usually have at least a cube in there.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. That's how because a lot of times I'm drinking whiskey out on the front porch and it's 78, 85 degrees. A couple of cubes in there, and enough whiskey that it doesn't get diluted too quickly. Then I'll just have the bottle and a bucket of ice and just keep mixing.
So speaking of ice, I know a lot of whiskey drinkers have preferences too. Do you like the regular cubes? Do you like the big globe molds? Do you like the big square cubes? What do you prefer?
I like the big round ones if I can get them.
The molds, yeah. So I've got the globes myself, but I've got to where I prefer the big squares.
Just for feel, or?
Well, yeah, I guess partly. I guess because it's easier.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've got.
Yeah, I've got the silicone globes.
Yeah, I've got the silicone. Yeah, I've got two for globes. I actually got one that does 6 small globes, and I like to use that one when I'm just doing like a short pour, right? If I'm doing just a 1 ounce, and the small globes are very nice. But if I'm having about a 1.5 to 2 ounce pour, I like the big squares.
So LG has a machine that makes 2-inch spheres.
Is that right?
And I'm like, I mean, we're redoing the house. I'm putting a bar in. I'm like, I want this.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah.
To begin with, it's $1,800.
Oh yeah, wow.
So that's a huge splurge. But then also on top of that, it makes one every 18 hours.
Oh gosh, that's
cool. One, and it's like, no.
You can make your own quicker than that.
I know. Come on.
Well, I'm going to admit something here. Part of my OCD is that I've got a nice, Brita pitcher. Water's not bad, but when I'm making my ice cubes, I want to use the distilled water. I want to make sure my water's good. Do you have a preference, or am I just crazy?
No, I use tap water, but our tap water's the town is a little bit crazy about their tap water.
Okay, ours isn't.
It's a major source of income for us because we're in the middle of 3 really top-notch trout streams.
Oh, gotcha.
So they spent a lot on the treatment plant, and it's pretty good water to begin with. So our tap water is actually really good. Yeah. So I'm lucky.
I barely want to bathe in our tap water, but. But but my wife kind of makes fun of me because she's got some distilled water she uses to make her ice cubes, or those little small cubes she uses. So I steal her water to make pour in my big molds,
Right. Yeah.
But I will admit, I get a little OCD about certain things. So, like over here, Portland,
where that last 2% really does make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my thing is, if I'm pouring good whiskey on something, I don't want the ice to ruin my whiskey, right?
No, you don't. And the same thing with adding water to it.
Yeah.
If my tap water was not as good as it was, I'd at least be using a good brand of bottled water. I use a good bottled water. Yeah. If I poured a little capful into something just to add, if I got a good cat strength, I want to put just a little water in. I use bottled water. Yep. So
what are your thoughts on that, though, too? Because I've had this argument with folks before. The first formal tasting I went to probably about, I don't know, a couple of decades ago, maybe even longer than that. It was a Scotch tasting, and he was talking about how adding a little bit of water to your tasting actually will bring out flavors and aromas. But you talk to certain people and said, no, you never want to add any water. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and pretty much unless it's cask strength, they've already added water. So
yes,
you don't
right. You don't want to put water into an 80 proof whiskey.
Depends on the whiskey. I mean, I don't think.
Well,
I mean, when they're tasting, when the blenders are tasting, they're a lot of times they're knocking it down to like 30% or less. But is that the flavor you want? Is that because there are? I mean, you have to be really careful with like an older whiskey over 30 years old. You add water to it, and the whole thing can just collapse.
Yeah,
and you get nothing. So, I mean, if something's over 110, you're pretty safe adding water, but really, if that's what you want, put squirt in it. I don't, it's your whiskey. I don't know.
See, that's my thing. If you're at home drinking your whiskey, you can do what you want. If you've got a great $100 bottle of whiskey, you want to drop Coke in it, hey, it's your whiskey. But
your whiskey.
But see, here's my caveat. If you're at their house and they offer you some whiskey, you drink it the way they offer it to you.
I agree. That's
if somebody says, hey, well, I want you to try this. No, you don't put water in it. You don't put soda pop in it. They're offering you something from their heart. You drink it the way they offer it to you.
No, I agree with that. Well, I'll try it. And if it's just too much, it's like, do you mind if I add a little water to that? Yeah. Is that? And usually they'll get like a pained expression and say, okay. And I'm thinking, But yeah, I mean, I'm not drowning it. It's like you said, it's a cap and a few drops. I did finally get a pipette, a pipette. What is it, Kathy? Is it a pipette or a pipette? Pipette. She's a biologist, so I asked her about equipment.
You're like me. You married a smarter,
Oh, I definitely did.
Smart man marries an even smarter woman. So I tell people, if I could take care of myself, I wouldn't have needed to get married.
Don't you give the secret away.
That's right.
No, I did finally get that, and now I can really control how much I'm putting in.
Very nice.
Great. Yeah. And I mean, I do. I don't get weird about it, but when I'm tasting for work, as it were, I'm always using a Glencairn. It's a clean Glencairn. I rinse it out before I pour in it, and some of that is because I think it is a good glass for drinking whiskey, and some of it is just because I want everyone to be on the same level.
Well, that kind of makes sense,
same glass for everything. But I mean, when I'm just drinking, usually I'm going for a rocks glass.
Yeah, I've got my Tiyaki dog, which this would probably be considered what, a rocks glass?
Yeah.
I've got one more product I want to share with you here.
Sure.
And keeping with what I do, it is a Missouri product, but Pinckney Bend out of New Haven, Missouri. It's about 3.5 hours from Springfield. So they don't do bourbon. What their thing is corn whiskey. Corn spirits. Let me put a finer point on it. Corn spirits, because they do a corn vodka, they do a corn gin, and the products are rather amazing. And I bought a few products from. What I found interesting though is they have this heirloom collection. They had 3 different ones at the time when I was there, and the only difference is the corn. Right, the rest of it is exactly the same. It's aged the same way. It's aged for the same amount of time. They're all bottled at 100 proof, but I bought 3 different ones. Oh, this is their Boone County that I got here for you.
Okay.
But what I've noticed was I found it amazing that the only difference was the corn, and the flavors were distinctly different, and the only difference is corn. The variety.
Yeah, there's a Mexican distillery doing that. I don't know what the name of the distillery is. The brand of the whiskey is Sierra Norte, and they're doing that, making it the same way, but using different strains of corn. And
wow, that's interesting.
It absolutely makes a difference.
Let me grab my glass here.
Yep.
So I did a tasting there. So they give you an option if you want to do a gin tasting or a whiskey tasting. You just can't you can't split them up, right? You can't do half gin, half whiskey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I did a whiskey tasting because I'm more of a whiskey guy, but he did give me a taste of one of their gins, and it was rather amazing, to be honest with you. They also give you a sample of their vodka as they change from one whiskey to another as a palate cleanser.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will tell you that corn vodka was rather impressive, too. me show you using my Pinckney band. So the tasting, you taste 6 for $20, and they give you a glass. I didn't think that was too bad.
No, it's not a bad deal at all.
Hell, I paid more for glassware.
Yeah, right, right. No, I wasn't. I don't know that I really believed that much difference in the heritage corn thing. And then I was at a festival in Madison, Wisconsin, Distill America, and Journeyman Distilling out of Michigan was there, and the woman said, "Do you want to try our vodka?" And I said, I have to be honest, I don't really. And she said, "You really should, because it's made with Bloody Butcher corn, and it makes a difference." So I'm like,
oh, that Bloody Butcher corn! Oh my God,
you have intrigued me. And wow, I don't care if they're distilling it out to 190 proof. It made a difference. It really did. I could taste it, and now I'm a believer. I want to try all those different corns. I do.
I've actually got a whiskey up here that uses that is 100% Bloody Butcher corn. Again, it's out of Missouri too. Wood Hat Distillery. Man, that whiskey is serious.
Yeah.
If I knew you were going to bring up Bloody Butcher corn, I'd have had that one handy.
Well, also, I just had a buckwheat whiskey for the second time.
Buckwheat, really?
Back in Pennsylvania, one of the they might be the distiller that's, I'm not sure, it's close. Anyway, one of the distillers right there is a place called Barrel 21 in State College. And we were just at a, what was it, a craft spirits expo, I think, and a couple of weeks ago. And I went over to their stand just to see what they had. And I just wanted to say hi to the founder had retired, a guy named Roger. And he had retired. I was just going to go over and say hi to him. Well, he might be retired, but he's still pretty active in the whole thing. He's like, come here. You got to try this. And, the buckwheat whiskey is exactly what I'm looking for now. It's something different that doesn't put peanut butter or dill pickles in it.
So buckwheat whiskey is it the mouthfeel that's much different, or are we talking flavors?
Flavor, but there's a mouthfeel difference as well, especially on the finish.
I would think the viscosity would be.
No, it's not so much that. It actually tends to dry out a little bit. It's just a little bit of astringency, but the wood pairs that, because I've had buckwheat beers, and I actually found that astringency kind of off-putting. But in the whiskey, the wood had mellowed it, so it was just dryness. Yeah, but it had a really interesting flavor to it. Kind of woodsy, kind of nutty. I
was going to say, I was going to ask if it was a little nutty, right?
It was a little bit nutty, but it was also, there was I can't describe it except like a fall woods kind of thing. Like,
really? Okay.
Yeah. It was. I'm sold. I want to get some. I want to drink some more of it.
I'm going to look for some now. I just
until about a year ago, that wasn't whiskey.
Really? Okay.
Because buckwheat's not actually a grain; it's a seed.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It's not. It acts just like, but it's a seed. It's considered a seed, a pseudo cereal. But there's a.
So is it considered a whiskey now?
It is now. Yeah, the TTB made a change to the standards of identity. Buckwheat, amaranth, and damn me, I can't think of the third one. I don't know, but there's 3 of them that they added to the list. That
I'm surprised somebody isn't doing millet.
I'm not sure. Oh, millet is a seed. That might be the third one. Yeah, because it's a seed too. I was just reading about that today.
I've known other brewers or distillers to add millet in their products.
Yeah. What's her name up in Chicago? Koval does a millet whiskey.
Yeah.
But I was just reading an article online today. Garrett Oliver at Brooklyn Brewing is doing a project with a guy from Africa with millet in beers. So, yeah.
Very nice. Well, I popped one last beer to have with you. It is from Deep Sleep out of Washington, Missouri, right near that New Haven that I talked about with the whiskey. So I was actually invited to a private tasting with these guys. So they're just a production brewery at this point. They don't have a tasting room. So, but they've seen some of my videos, invited me out to come out to taste the products, and I got to tell you, these things are pretty amazing. This is their Patrick's Feeling Hazy, a 7% hazy IPA.
I like the packaging. That's nice.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, my favorite product from them is called Train of Four, an Imperial Stout that is just insanely good.
Nice.
It runs at 10%, and that thing is just, oh man, it'll change your whole world. It is that good.
I had an American Pale today made with Fraser fir tips, because the
fir tips. Wow. So how was that?
It was really, really good. I was nervous, trepidatious, not convinced. But the guy's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna like it." I'm like, "Yeah, shit, I'm gonna like it."
Did it bring you back to IPAs back about 2005 before everybody knew what a West Coast was?
No, it's definitely a pale. So that's, I think it's a little over 5%, and it had that really clean, refreshing note to it, and it wasn't overly piney, but it was piney. They did it because they call themselves the Christmas tree capital of the United States. They grow a lot of Christmas trees here. A lot of we were up on, there's a mountain we were up on last night, Mount Jefferson. I don't know, it's up about 4,700 feet high. We were up on top of it, and everywhere you looked, there were Christmas trees growing.
Really?
Rows of them. Yeah, we drove past them coming in, and we've been down here in late fall, and they've just got rows of them cut and lined up, and loading them onto tractor trailers and shipping them out all over the eastern U.S.
Wow!
And so they decided to make a fir tree beer.
Wow, that's funny. So we've actually got a place in St. James, Missouri called Prairie Barn Winery and Christmas Tree Farm. They do wine and Christmas trees. It's true.
Nice.
Yeah. My wife and I visited them last September for our 28th anniversary. It was very interesting. So basically, what happened was that they'd recently bought this winery, but they've had Christmas farms in Kansas City and other places. So they came out here. They took just a little bit of the vineyard space out to do Christmas trees, and they do both wine and Christmas trees. It's very interesting.
That's neat.
We were out there. I guess in April, and they had a thing where you go out there. And, you do a tasting or whatever, and you can go out and plant a tree.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it was so cold, I didn't want to go out and plant a tree. But yeah, if the weather was good, I would have.
Yeah, I planted an agave when we were down at the tequila place. Yeah, we all did. Like the first 3 years, they sent us pictures, and then everything kind of fell apart in COVID. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get another picture of one now. But
COVID, the COVID years, yeah. So 2020 was interesting because, we all had to drink at home, right? So and a lot of the businesses were closed, but liquor stores stayed open. So all the liquor stores that I know, the people that I know,
Pennsylvania.
Oh, really? They weren't open?
Yeah, no, they were closed for like 7-8 weeks.
Oh, you're kidding? Oh, see, they never shut down here.
Yeah. No, we were. There was a county in Ohio where Pennsylvania people were not allowed to buy liquor.
No.
Yeah, because we were buying it all up.
So you had to stay open. You were only allowed to stay open if you were deemed essential, and liquor stores were deemed essential. What I found interesting, though, there was a place in town, Academy Sports. I don't know if you have them in your neck of the woods. A sporting goods store. But it's a big sporting goods store. They have everything, right? They've got shoes, they've got this, they've got that, they got guns, But I go to Academy Sports because I love to smoke. So Academy Sports has the best selection of wood to smoke with. I mean, they've got they don't have just cherry, apple, all the usual suspects. You can get persimmon, you can get apricot, you get all sorts of different woods out there.
Yeah.
So, but during COVID, they were restricted. Academy of Sports was allowed to open, but only sell firearms. So I did this big spiel about it, and it really pissed off a lot of my family members. To be honest with you, is that how fucking ignorant is that? We have a segment of society that's pissed off about everything, and you're allowing them to buy firearms, but But all I want to do is walk into Academy and buy some wood so I can smoke something at home because I can't go anywhere else. And you won't let me
God
buy
forbid you
wood.
want to buy like a pair of boots or a pair of long johns,
Yeah,
right?
all you could buy was firearms. Or they didn't have everything you need, but all they were on the
Wow.
sale was firearms.
Wow.
I mean, how bizarre! I don't know. The law was just kind of odd. It didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Ours had some weird exceptions. I remember the bicycle shop was allowed to stay open.
Bicycle shop, okay.
I'm not complaining, but I don't understand it. So yeah, I mean, we were getting a lot of stuff by mail order. The nice thing was, it's all state liquor stores in Pennsylvania, so
Oh,
they
okay.
all
Yeah.
shut down. But the distilleries didn't shut down. The local craft distilleries, all of a sudden, everybody discovered their local distiller.
Well,
Yeah, which was great for them. Yeah, they
well,
didn't
see,
even know they existed.
all of our breweries were shut down for about a month, and then they were allowed to open but not have people in.
Yeah,
So a lot of them did was they started running these specials, right? So I would go through, and I would order everything online. I'd have one day. So we had a brewery in town that do a special on Tuesday. That you get a brewer's case for $28. They give you 4 random 6-packs, basically. But because I knew everybody, I would get the 4 6-packs I wanted. But you basically get 4 random 6-packs for $28. But because I knew I was going out on a Tuesday, I had other breweries in town that would do these crowler specials. So you get 3 crowlers for $25 over here. Over here, I get 3 crowlers for $25 plus a pizza. So I would line up everything in one day. I'd spend 2 hours running around town, grab everything, and I wouldn't be out again till next Tuesday.
Yeah. Do you get? I don't know if you get them out there. Victory Brewing.
No, I don't get them here anymore, but I am familiar with them. I have had their product.
Okay, so they had they do have a big brewery outside of Philadelphia, about 40 minutes west in Parksburg, and they had a lot of leftover beer because it's a big brewery and the tanks were just full.
Yeah.
They were doing a thing every Sunday, $3 crowlers.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
And each one, and we were going in, we were getting like 2 dozen crowlers and they had an app set up. You order what you wanted. This is what's available this Sunday. Here it is. And it didn't matter if you were getting like session IPA or imperial stout, $3.
Oh, that's insane.
So you'd put your order in, you'd pull up, you'd let them know you're there. Guy would come out, set it on a table. You pay by the app. Get out, pick it up, put it in your car, drive off.
Oh man, that's crazy.
It was so snug. And then we'd stop in. Our son and his girlfriend were living in West Philadelphia at the town in this tiny little apartment. That's when I knew they were going to be okay as a couple, because if they survived living in that tiny, yes. So we'd go in there and drop off crowlers and drop off some groceries and then go home and have a beer.
Yeah, I think 2020 killed a lot of solid couples. So, I mean, if you made it 20, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I joke with folks. I said, my wife and I, but my wife has always been kind of a homebody. She's got a lot of social anxiety disorder. So she doesn't like to get out anyway. And I always did like to get out. But after 2020, hell, I don't want to go anyplace.
Yeah.
I can't drink in my underwear at the bar.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I learned how to stream movies, so I don't want to go to a theater anymore. No, I've got Voodoo and I've got Netflix and I got Prime. Hell, I ain't going anywhere. The 2020 kind of ruined me. Now I don't even want to go anyplace. And curbside delivery. I put in the order online. I go pick it up and come home. Damn.
We kept our love for live music because the brew pub down the hill had a big series of outdoor concerts. And they ran into like late October. They were calling it the Lawnmower and Long Johns month.
No, that's funny. Yeah, that's awesome.
Man, it got cold, but we were still out there listening. So we kind of kept that. And, everything's outside. You're lining up. You're getting stuff, all keeping your social distance. In fact, they still serve their Kolsch, still called social distance. So that was all from – but it worked. I mean, we were afraid because we had moved there because of that brew pub.
Yeah.
That's why we retired to that town, and we were scared to death it was going to kill them. COVID was. So we've been kind of white knuckling with this, but it looks like they made it. So knock wood. I think we're good there.
The breweries we had at the time at 2020 all made it through.
That's great. That's great.
Now, some of them have
And
since
I'm
then,
starting to
but
see some.
2020
Starting to see some going to now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of them, the loans are coming due, or just they can't get staff. Yeah, so it's tough. It's
It
a
is.
hard
And
business.
staffing is always an issue.
Yeah. So, whew.
For me, I got to be honest with you, I tend to take the side of labor more so. Being a
Absolutely.
working class guy, but a lot of it is, we had a brewery that did go out of business, and their complaint was that, well, when they went out of business, they put this big long paragraph on their social media page how they were doing the best beer in town, and this town is just not grateful for what they offered. And I thought, you guys were doing some of the shittiest stuff. I went there 3 times. I didn't do a video for. I went in there 3 times, and I didn't publish a video because I don't like doing negative videos. I thought,
Yeah, I agree.
I had to look back at those videos and say, Tom, do I want to publish these? And I made a decision not to. I said, man, you guys weren't doing great stuff. You weren't treating your health well, or you would still be in business. Quit blaming everything else because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it drove me crazy. All the people were like, people don't want to work. I'm like, no, people don't want to work for you.
People don't want to work for free. Yeah, people don't want to come to work. Yes, they do. But now they have a choice. Right after 2020 hit, now they have options. Right now, you have more options than you had.
Yeah. I mean, so many places found out that you don't have to be there. You know, I mean, my daughter worked remotely for almost 3 years. And then they found out, wow, they don't really need to be. Well, we just want you here. Why? Why am I doing that commute? Why am I buying takeout lunch?
Well, the smart business have realized that they actually get more productivity from people they let work at home.
Yes. I mean, granted, there's some things you can't, like actual manufacturing jobs. That's hard. Yeah. And the thing that drives me crazy now is how, the people that got us through this were the people, the blue collar workers at supermarkets.
That's it. Yeah. The fast food restaurants.
Yeah. And what do they get now?
In my neck of it was liquor store clerks.
Yes. But yeah, we talked a lot and we let it go. It's sad.
What was the thing at the time? Everybody was in agreement, right? It's not to see so the whole Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. That was that's complete bullshit. It's the people showing up for work every day that keeps everything moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as everything got moving again, people, oh no, we don't care about you making $12 an hour.
No.
We don't care.
Yeah, and now either it's because the economy's doing so well, or because people are withholding their labor, which that's what you do, and they can't staff the jobs, so they're offering more money. And I hope the paradigm changes. I really do.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was a Teamster truck driver, so I was always pro-union. But the honest truth is that if you're treating your people right, they're not looking to start a union. So it was like the whole Starbucks thing that was going on. If Starbucks were treating their people right in the first place, they wouldn't have tried to go union at all.
Yeah. This is what there's Yuengling Brewing, family owned, and I've gotten to know the brewer there, John Callahan, and John's like, yeah, we're not union. He says we don't have to be because Dick treats us decent,
Well, that's good.
Yeah. 10 years ago they were starting at $20 an hour.
Oh, really? Wow. 10 years ago?
That's 10 years ago. Yeah. And no copay on health insurance.
See, that's again, that kind of proves my point. If you're treating your people right, that they're not going to look to form a union.
No, and you know what? The union came to town. I can't remember which union it was. I don't think it was the Teamsters. I can't remember who it was. But somebody came to town and wanted to organize the brewery workers, and the brewery workers essentially looked at them like, why? And they have a point, the organizers. That's great when things are good, but what's it going to be like when things aren't good? And the thing was, there were some guys there that had been there like for 50 years, and like, well, they took care of us then too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And there's your argument. I mean, that's where your argument kind of goes down. I mean, again, it goes back to if you're treating people right, they're not going to look for something different.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's going to work together, and I mean, it doesn't hurt that Dick drives a used car.
It doesn't, but you know, it's a small wonder why Walmart employees are trying to unionize.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised that their suppliers aren't trying to unionize. The way they're knocking them down on, no, we don't want to pay that much for it. Like, then I'm going to go out of business. Well, that's not my problem. Kind of is.
Kind of is, yeah. The funny thing is there was a lot of retailers from the 80s or 70s, actually, 70s and 80s, that were huge before Walmart became this, giant monstrosity, where their whole motto was, don't change anything. We're incredibly popular right now. We're going to be fine. And nobody knows who they are anymore. You get sort of like TG&Y. Nobody knows what TG&Y is now, but they were one of the biggest retail marketers back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
They were in the top 5, man. And I think the same is going to happen to people like Walmart if they don't figure out what the problem is.
Yeah.
Just because you're on top now doesn't mean you're going to be on top in 10 years if you're not going to make the right changes. And
you got to keep changing. Yes. And I hope Amazon's learning that, but I'm not convinced they are. I don't know. I'm just a simple whiskey writer.
That's what I tell people. Hey, man, I'm just a boy. I steal the Steve Martin line, but I don't use the one thing. I'm just a poor white boy. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm just a working class guy, man.
I don't know.
So I want to give you just a couple of tasting notes, and I really would like to. I'm going to find a way to get some of this whiskey to you because it's rather amazing. But this Boone County corn whiskey at 100 proof. Obviously, I'm picking up some vanilla from the barrel. So here's the thing. Here's what I want to ask you too. Don't answer right away because I want to finish my tasting. But
sure,
because I'm just dealing with a corn whiskey, would it absorb more vanilla, or would you feel more vanilla? Because I feel like I'm feeling more vanilla from this corn whiskey than I am most bourbons. But anyway, having said that, I will say I'm picking up notes of peanuts. As well as peanuts. The peanut one's throwing me off. I am really picking up notes of roasted peanut as well as some barrel spice.
What does it actually say on the label? Does it say corn whiskey?
No, it's 100% corn whiskey. It's 100% Boone County corn whiskey. It's a single heirloom variety.
I just want to make sure it actually says corn whiskey.
Yeah, it does. Let me show it to you.
Okay. All right.
Get it where you can see it there. Good.
I see heirloom whiskey. Oh, is it down at the bottom there?
The variety, it says the Boone County brew. It is 100% corn.
Huh. I'm just wondering if it's a corn whiskey or a bourbon. Does it say bourbon on it anywhere?
They don't do any bourbon.
Oh, there it is. Wait, bring it in a little bit more. It came into focus there. Okay. All right. See, the thing is, if it's corn whiskey, you use used barrels.
Yeah. So it is an heirloom corn whiskey.
Okay. So there's going to be a difference in the barrel character there.
That could be okay.
You say that was? You say it was that the 5-year-old or was that the other one?
No. This is a different one. This one's just
okay.
In fact, I think let me see if I can read that here real quick. I think it's aged 2 years, if I remember correctly. Okay. It is only corn. It's an heirloom variety called Boone County. Okay. Single corn. It's a single grain.
No, it's just the labeling. If it actually says corn whiskey, then it has different rules.
It is corn.
I mean, you can have 100% corn bourbon. But
it does say actually.
What does it say on the back?
I don't know if I can get that close enough for you to read it. But hey, dear, can you flip that light on?
Whiskey.
Oh, this. I need this one. I can't read or turn that one on. I don't have enough light right here where I can read that. Not her problem, she says. Made from
Understood.
this is made from Boone County, open pollinated heirloom corn.
And turn it around. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really seeing one way or the other. The only reason I'm asking is that used barrel versus new barrel thing.
Yeah, I just remember when I did the tour, they make it real clear that they only distill corn spirits. It's all 100% corn.
Okay. It's more the barrel that I'm thinking about.
The barrel, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says here, let me see. Aged 1 year in new and second use, in new and
new
second
and
use
used.
Missouri
Okay.
white. New and
Okay.
used. There we go.
Okay.
So that's what you're looking. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. All right. So if you're getting if they are using new, that's where you're getting the vanilla, because usually with the used barrels, you're getting more, I don't want to say oxidation, but oxygen exchange.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
More than wood character. Yeah. But
the odd thing for me was the peanut notes I was picking up. I don't usually pick up peanut from bourbons. I was distinctly getting roasted peanut notes here.
Well, you'll get roasted peanuts sometimes in a wheated bourbon.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But again, some of that depends on yeast. Some of that depends on barrel type. So no, it's a thing. Peanut is. Hell, there's sometimes you can pick up notes of dill depending on the barrel. The barrel will bring dill sometimes, which is kind of weird.
Well, I mean, I've picked up almond or amaretto before, but I've never picked up peanut before.
Yeah. Apparently, it was more common in older bourbons, not older,
really? Okay.
like age, but like bourbons made in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, we always assume that bourbon today is the same as bourbon that it's not. It's made
not,
differently.
It really isn't. Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah. Plus, I've got friends. Well, I'm in a certain neck of the woods here in Southwest Missouri where certain products are very popular. And you try to tell people that product that you like with that black label isn't the same product that was made in the 70s and 80s. That product was a 90 proof whiskey, then it became an 86 proof whiskey, and now it's an 80 proof whiskey. It's not the same product your dad or your grandparents bought. It really, and they're still charging the price as if it were.
Yes.
So if I have X amount of money and I want a relatively cheap or inexpensive whiskey, I'm going to buy the ones that start with a J, or the one that I'm going to buy JB rather than JD, because I'm going to save $10 for basically a very similar whiskey.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the EW myself.
Oh, Evan Williams, yeah.
That's where I usually want to go.
So I do like the bottled and bond. I think that is that's arguably the best value in bourbon.
I still wind up going for Old Granddad there, the 100 proof.
Yeah. Oh,
I like that. The 100, not the 114, the 100.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't sell it in handles anymore. You can only get it in the 750. You can't get the big. Like, why? That's why I want to drink it.
So did you like you didn't like the 114?
I just think it's more money than I want to pay for it.
Overkill, maybe?
Yeah. And the 100 does me fine. Holds up to a cube. Yeah. On the other hand, I really like the old Overholt 114. I
do like the old Overholt too.
Yeah. And I like that new bonded one they're doing.
So having this discussion with you, it's not always about price, right? Price doesn't dictate a better whiskey.
No, absolutely not. No, because we were just having this discussion on Facebook. Some bartenders and I know a couple of beer guys, and they were like, "Oh man, the bourbon's just so expensive." I'm like, "Dude, Wild Turkey 101 all day, every day. What's your problem?" So, it is eminently affordable and it's delicious.
That's
So
there are products in the middle between 10 High and Pappy. You know,
yes, yes,
there is
that's
a middle
absolutely
ground,
true.
right?
Yeah. I have to be honest. It takes a lot of Pepsi to wash down 10 High.
Oh my
That's
God.
where I am.
10 High. There isn't enough. There isn't enough good Coke to wash down 10 High.
Yeah, I hate to slam a product, but sometimes you just gotta.
I remember being a
Yeah.
kid. So my dad would always go to the local American Legion. So of course, you could bring kids in there back then. So we go in there, and it really isn't a bourbon, but their whiskey in the well was Kessler. And Dad would
Oh
always tell,
God, yeah.
I want bourbon. Kessler is not a bourbon.
Nope.
It is not. So he'd always order Jim Beam. So, but they'd always argue with him. Well, why don't you just drink the Kessler? Because it sucks.
Right.
That's terrible, man.
Main reason.
Nobody drinks Kessler on purpose.
Oh my God. I remember being in a dive bar in Pittsburgh and some guy coming in. You ever come across Imperial?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was coming in and getting shots of Imperial for 80
Oh, God.
cents. And he's shaking so bad he had to drink it with a bar straw. And it was like,
Oh, my God.
I need to re-examine my life.
Oh, God. That's
Yeah.
funny.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to look at why you're drinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every now and then, well, I mean, I said it in my first book. Every now and then, you want a shot of whiskey, and you just got to slam it because you need to hit the reset button. And it's good at that. But I do that maybe once every 3 years or so. That I'm at the point where I need that, and then I do it, and then I calm down and I have a beer.
Well, that's the difference kind of between craft beer drinkers and macro drinkers, right? Because it's not about the quantity. Macro drinkers always say, well, your beer's so expensive. Yeah, but I'm not knocking 12 pack a night.
Right.
I'm not buying an 18 pack and drinking all of them. No, I'm buying a 6 pack and drinking maybe 3 at most.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different mentality, right?
It's true. Yeah. I mean, there are times when I'll drink a lot, but I'll drink a lot of like 3.5% or 4% beers.
Yeah.
I'm all in on the whole session beer thing because I like a good tasting beer, and it goes well with conversation. It goes well with food. I just want to, I still remember I was talking to a brewer. Guy said, I'm a lot of times at night, I'm out on the road, I'm promoting the brand, I'm doing events. And he said, when I get a chance to go out by myself, I don't want to drink barley wine. 2 barley wines and I'm done. And I got to go home. I said, I'm going to drink Pilsner and have 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. And, whiskey, sip it. I will have a highball because if I don't, I tend to drink it too fast and that goes sideways. But it's just you have to figure out how to handle the drink with yourself. And
no, I agree. Yeah,
like I said, what you want to get out of it.
Well, that's true. And whiskey you want straight or neat, if you will, might not be the same whiskey you want as a highball.
Right. Absolutely true. Yeah,
they're going to react a little bit different. You don't need that $100 Pappy for a highball, but maybe you want to do a step above 10 High.
Oh yeah, and that's what that Evan Williams bottle and bond is for.
See, I agree. I think that whiskey is perfect for that. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a perfectly, and I've drank that whiskey neat. I don't think it's bad neat.
No. I'll drink that neat.
But for $18 a bottle, you can highball it.
Absolutely. I mean, Beam makes or was making. I don't know if they succeeded or not, if they're still around, but they were making a 12-ounce canned. It was Jim Beam white label and club soda and I think like a twist of lime.
They do. I haven't tried it yet though.
I like them. They sent me some samples, and I thought they were pretty darn good.
What's the ABV on those?
Somewhere between 5 and 6. Might actually just be 5.
5. Okay, that's
Yeah, I
not
mean
bad.
it's beer strength.
But
So
does it feel like a nice highball?
it feels like a fairly light highball, but it's still. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
it's not watered down whiskey. It's a highball.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right.
yeah, and the seltzer is nice. It's high carbonation. It's very crisp. It's a good drink.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't have them on ice because I think that knocks it back too much. I just get them really cold and drink them out of the can.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're down to 5%, yeah, you don't want ice on that.
Yeah,
No.
you don't want to go farther down. No, no. No. I do remember we had I did a bourbon dinner at a barbecue place in Philly. This is back like 10 or 12 years ago. And for the one round, we did 3 different country hams, just, like shaved samples. And then we did what the guys in the distilling business call Kentucky tea, like 2 parts water, 1 part whiskey.
Oh,
And
yeah. Okay.
you get a big glass and it tastes like whiskey, but you can just, drink it. And with the salty ham, it was pretty good. I mean, there were a couple of people who were like, "Oh, what'd you do that to the whiskey for?" Well, it's a different way of drinking it. This is what the guys in Kentucky do. Literally, that's Jimmy Russell at Wild Turkey. That's who I learned it from.
Yeah.
He wants to drink bourbon, but he wants to drink it, and that's how you get there. So,
Well, 2 parts to 1 part isn't exactly seriously watered down either.
that's true too. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely still there.
It's definitely still there. Yeah, you're still feeling a lot of whiskey there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
before I let you go this evening, because I do appreciate you coming on during
sure.
your holiday or vacation. Anyway.
Oh yes.
So before I go though, with this conversation, we're talking about Jimmy Russell. Are there favorites among the big U.S. distilleries that you really
Wow.
are? I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. That you feel are just that much above the others.
Give me just a sec. What's it seems to be working here. Okay. I don't know. We might have internet trouble. I mean, I'm still hearing you. Are you still hearing me?
Yeah, I'm still hearing you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good then. Wow. The Scotch distillers have a saying, it's horses for courses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are things like Beam. I really like Baker's. I really like Knob Creek.
I do. Yeah.
Wild Turkey. I just love Rare Breed. Really like it. Heaven Hill. That Evan Williams, the Elijah Craig 12 I think is fantastic. Woodford. Well, actually, from Brown Foreman, like I said, I like the Woodford. I like Old Forester 100 proof. I like that Old
Very nice. I
Forester.
do too. Yeah.
The 1920. I like that one.
I think you're kind of proving my point, which is I'm trying to get to is everybody has something great to offer.
Yes. I remember something when I was just starting to get to Kentucky. It was in the late 90s. I was at Woodford Reserve with the guy who was not really the distiller. They call him the production manager, Dave Shurick, who's Dave's doing consulting now and has some nice stuff out right now. But anyway, Dave was down there, and I remember we were talking over lunch, and I was saying, I remember some bad bourbons when I was younger. He's like, yeah, he says, the bad ones pretty much went out of business. It was a tough time, and he said, there aren't really any bad bourbons around anymore. And as we noted, 10 High is still there, but there's there's anybody who couldn't make decent bourbon isn't in business anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, you had there were a fair number of bad whiskeys being made by inexperienced craft distillers, but that's kind of going away too.
Well, the
Almost
market
everybody
tends to weed
knows.
itself out, right?
Yeah, yeah. So if it isn't any good, people don't buy it, and
Or you figure out what you're doing and
that's
you stick around.
What's that?
Or you figure out what you're doing and you stick around.
Yes, exactly. I mean, one of the ones that really impresses me now is Cedar Ridge in Iowa.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, the first couple of whiskeys I had from them were okay, but they're doing some really good stuff now.
They are. So here's the thing with them for me is that I can't get them here, but I had a friend send me a bottle of something. Oh my God, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. They've really knocked it out. And my guys back in Pennsylvania, Dad's Hat, making rye, they're making really good whiskey now. So yeah, I think we're.
You just have to be around long enough to figure out what you're doing, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's the hard part. That's the hard part.
Well,
But
you have to
I think
be
a lot
able
of
to be
people
a
are at
little
that
humble,
stage now.
don't you? You got to be a little
You
humble.
do.
I mean, you got to be
You
able to say, okay, I was wrong. I made a few mistakes, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do it this way.
I remember talking to a craft distiller. Wow, this was back maybe 2016, and the guy said, "Well, let me send you some samples." And I'm like, "Oh no, I've got one of your samples. It's from about a year and a half ago." He's like, "Just throw that away." What?
Yeah, okay.
What? He's like, "Let me send you the new stuff." Oh, okay, all right. And I had to be honest. I mean, I remember a couple of times now hearing people talking about how good a particular craft whiskey is, and I'm thinking that stuff's awful. And then I realize I'm thinking from 5 years ago,
Yeah,
and it's probably a lot better now. Almost all of them are.
yeah. If you're able to make it, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you just learn.
So I'm going to ask you not to drop off right away because I want to talk to you just a hint off camera. But I want to thank Lew for joining me on his vacation. I forgot he was on vacation when we set this up. Wow. I've been going crazy because I've had my therapy and everything else. But anyway, I am Tony the Beer and Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey and beer drinker, purveyor wisdom all around good guy. And thanks again for Lew Bryson. I mean, God almighty, a well-renowned beer and whiskey writer joining me. I do appreciate that. Hey, thank you all.
Fun time, Tom.
Appreciate y'all for watching, man.